And I guess his agent is, and let's get into all the more aged folks looking, or at least talking about coming into the league. The whole, I guess his agent's saying it's either New York or L.A. That in fact they have spoke to folks in Seattle and Chicago, but they're leaning more towards a New York, L.A. thing. I don't think that his agent nor does Alessandro realize that that's probably not going to happen for a variety of reasons.
I mean, I guess it all really depends on what happens with David Beckham with LA, as far as a designated player slot is concerned. If Beckham returns, then I don't see it happening especially because they already have their three. They already have their three players.
But even if let's say Beckham leaves, I mean, the whole point really of having, I mean, if I'm putting together a strong team, having a couple DPs is I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I don't get all my designated players and make them strikers or forwards. I get maybe a forward, maybe a midfielder, maybe a center back or a goalie. So the spine of the field is solid. But if you use two designated player spots on strikers at this point, you'd have Keane and Del Piero. I mean, that's a little... And then you don't replace Beckham when he leaves? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, unless you're going to play Del Piero as a CAM/CM.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. In MLS, you could definitely get away with using Del as more of a central attacking midfielder.
Yeah. Well, he's good, but...
Oh, no, he would be... I think he would do very well in that position. As long as... Very, very, very Blanco-esque. Put him in a spot where he's not going to have to run so much.
Yeah.
Not saying that Del is anywhere close to Blanco's fitness and speed. Del's a lot quicker, but he is getting up there in age. He is 37 years old. With how rough and tough our seasons are, how much travel he's going to have to go about.
Well, less travel next season, remember? We're switching up. Yep.
Yeah, there are.
Less travel.
That's very true. It's still a lot more travel than my guess is what he'd be used to in Italy.
Yeah. Well, well, that's for sure. Yeah, because they just you could bike ride to most of their games, in Italy.
But you put him in a position where he won't have to run as much, and he'll last his season. So a season, maybe two.
So I guess the point is, if indeed. You're going to play Del Piero as a CAM/attacking-minded CM. And I guess he could play on New York or LA. I guess the question is, are either of those teams looking to do something like that? Because traditionally, I mean, I really don't know if Del Piero can play the same kind of role that Beckham does. Not that Beckham's like this great defensive player, but he hustles a lot. I mean, he ran his ass off a lot this year. Mm-hmm. I don't see that as a good, a good flip-flop for them, replacing one with the other. So that's just my opinion. But you do have Janino back there to back up an aging Del Piero. Mm-hmm. But how long is this guy going to be there? 1 year? 2 years? That's another thing to keep in mind.
And it's one of those things where you asked whether or not New York or LA really won it. Yeah. They had, obviously, the reason why a lot of big name foreign players are saying I want LA or New York is because of the media, or not the media, but the location,
the prestige.
And that's the big thing about a lot of designated player signings. It's all location.
Well,
and
it's not
New York and LA have the ability where they don't have to take. Say if Del Piero is interested in only one of those things, they don't have to take him. They can go out and sell the city to anybody else.
I don't agree with the location thing, because I think there are a lot of beautiful places in the United States.
I agree completely.
If you want to come to live.
A lot of people understand that.
Well, I think it's more. I think a lot of these agents out there and these players, they must not realize that the New York Red Bulls have never won anything at all ever, but they do look at those two clubs as the prestige clubs in the MLS, and that's true in the sense that yes. The two biggest players to ever play in the MLS, Thierry Henry and David Beckham, those are the two teams they went to. And I understand that might make those teams look like they're very, prestigious, as prestigious as you can get in the MLS. But, I mean, to me, it's more that. And it's those agents knowing that those two teams spend a lot of dough or have forked out dough. They're using this whole conversation as leverage. And as you well know, and I know, and a lot of these agents are using this as leverage so they can sign a contract somewhere else and get paid a lot of big bucks. It's just a way to say, hey, we're out there talking to the MLS. You know, we're wanted. People want me or my player.
Oh, I definitely do not disagree with that.
And that's especially true, I think, for players like Drogba and Anelka especially. I think both those players and their agents are playing games. I'm not sure what's going on with Ballack, but it sure sounds like, you know, at the end of June, they're already pumping this up so early. We're not anywhere near June when Ballack's contract ends, and we're already, his agents out there, you know, pumping this thing like a flooded basement. And it's just unnecessary in a lot of ways.
Well, the thing is that it's not necessary to be that vocal. If they're interested in coming to MLS, then they don't have to sit there and spout out saying, yeah, we're in discussions with so-and-so, and, you know, we're really contemplating on going there.
Yeah.
Like you said, that really screams to me that they're really just saying, hey, if nobody else wants to pony up cash, we can go to this place. They'll pay me.
Right.
But it's one of those things that if they're really that interested, then they would make it known to the league itself. It might get leaked, who knows, but they wouldn't be out there quoting it all the time.
Yeah, it's like Megaphone City. I think the more these big players talk, the less likely it's going to happen. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
It's almost the more blabber, the less real it is. While there are some real conversations happening out there with players like William Gallas and to be truthful, Montreal seems very honestly interested in Anelka, and Chelsea would be all too happy to get rid of that guy anyhow. And then there's the YP Lee conversation, him coming to the MLS. That seems like a reasonable discussion. So those are the reasonable, I think, discussions going on out there. Let's talk, however, before we move on too far. Charlie Davies, the word is on the street, he's not coming back to the MLS. And you had mentioned that Bordeaux in France was interested in him, which to me is kind of surprising because I'm not sure if I were Bordeaux and I watched all the footage and film of Charlie Davies this season in MLS, that I would be interested. I wouldn't be. Why are they interested?
I have no idea. If I did know, I'd probably be working for him. And as you and I both know, I'm not working for them.
Yeah.
So, no, I definitely don't see him coming back to MLS. His agent has expressed interest from a couple MLS teams, but then he's also stated that there's interest from several other European teams as well. And that's very possible. It's very possible that he might end up, say, in a Scandinavian league after this. Yeah. Trying to rebuild his career in Europe.
Again.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised that DC didn't pick him up. Quite frankly, they declined the purchase because it would have just been too much money for the value that they would have valued him as.
Yeah, I agree. So. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of players, they got to start. They have to figure out, and their agents have to be, and their friends and their family have to be honest with them about, where they are right now. And I just don't. To me, Charlie Davies didn't show me enough last season. He's not the same Charlie Davies yet, and he may never be. We don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll go out and say he had a rather successful MLS season as a whole. If you look at just the goal scoring,
yeah, but 3 of those goals came.
11. I know a lot of them are PKs,
and 3 of them were in one game.
That's true. But
so I just wasn't impressed.
It was a decent enough year to where if he stayed in MLS, he could probably find success. If he goes back to Europe, I'm sure he can find success. Will he become the player he was prior to the incident? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one reason why he's really pushing for the lawsuit we talked about several shows back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he maybe even he acknowledges the fact that he's not going to quite be the player he was at one point. I may get reamed for this, but it's just
Tim reamed.
It's just a feeling, in all honesty.
You mean Tim reamed?